So with that, I think welcome again, everyone. And I can just turn this over to Perry. Perry will go through the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Myra. Can you tell me if you can see the presentation?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. It's great to see you all again. For some of you who we've seen again, and for those of you who are new, welcome. So my name is Perry Siatis. I am going to walk you through what the team has been working on for a few years now in terms of one of the key elements of what we believe successful stewardship in, and that is engagement. And if you've been with us the first part of the year, we did our deep dive into ownership. We are now moving for the next part of the year into engagement. And I think my team agrees with me that engagement is probably one of the single most important elements, although there are three important elements. This is maybe the most important one to some degree, because it is really the key to keeping people in your parish. And when you think of stewardship, we've talked a lot about stewardship's not just about the money piece, it's about the time and the talents, and that is ultimately what leads as well to the financial stewardship, and so engagement is an important element. So tonight we're gonna take a deeper dive into engagement. I'll review our definition of stewardship, and then we'll go into breakout sessions like we've done in the past, and we'll talk about what we heard and come up with ideas for goal setting for your parishes, and then bring everybody back for full group sharing. So if you've been with us before, you know our definition of stewardship. It's our grateful and loving response to God's love, grace, and gifts to us. It's our personal commitment to God and his church to ensure its vitality and continuous growth by joyfully and sacrificially offering of our talents, time, and treasures that we have received from him. And it puts our faith in action and demonstrates our trust in God. And I will say, if you look at this definition as we go through and think about it in the back of your head as we go through the engagement session, there's a lot of connection here. Personal commitment to God and his church. We're going to talk a lot about connecting people to the church and making them, bringing them into the church and to its ministries. So there's a lot of things that you'll see in that weaves well into our definition. So engagement, the second key element of stewardship. Engagement means connecting with people, inviting them to participate in the parish spiritual, educational, and fellowship ministries and parish and community outreach. And it's really about also keeping them there and keeping them connected. And we'll talk, hopefully we'll give you some practical tips and thoughts about that. So when we think about connecting or creating a culture of engagement, we thought about this in three buckets. We've been using the 3 buckets for ownership. We figured we'd use 3 buckets for this too. So we're going to talk about it in three ways to create this culture of engagement. The first way is connecting to people. And so that the idea of being able to just connect to someone is the first element. The second element is connecting people to other people. And the third element is connecting people to purpose. And what I would submit to you is if we do all of these things, connecting to people, connecting people to people, and connecting people to purpose, we are going to create this culture of engagement. We are going to grow our stewardship, both from a volunteerism, participation of time and talents, as well ultimately of financial. So we're going to dig into each one of those, but to set it up, think about connection as the cornerstone for engagement. Connection establishes relationships, and positive, healthy relationships create a culture of engagement. And these relationships are various relationships. They're relationships with, most importantly, God. They're relationships with our priest, with our parish leadership, with other parishioners. And forming these relationships is a powerful way to get people to engage and stay engaged. So as we think about connection, we're going to talk about each one of these in turn: connecting to people, connecting people to people, and connecting people to purpose. So let's start with connecting to people. So connecting to people is a powerful way to show you care about them. It's a very basic. If people think you care about them, they're much more willing to connect with you and ultimately likely to become engaged, whether it's with the parish or whether it's with a particular ministry, whether it's with coming to church. If people think you care about them, and if you show that you care about them, they will higher likelihood that they will become engaged. So this quote is a good one. Engaged members regularly have the opportunity in their congregation to do what they do best because leaders have invested the time needed to discover their members' greatest talents and gifts and have put them in roles they can perform with strength. Imagine if you ask someone what they're interested in doing and they say, I'm interested in, landscaping. And then you help connect them to do some gardening at the church. If they like that, if they enjoy doing that, that's their using their talents. If they feel that they're contributing, if they feel like they're part of that, there's a good synergy. There's a good likelihood that then they're going to stay in, whether it's they're going to connect then to coming to church or connecting to other people. They're going to more likely to stay engaged. So it's about learning what people are interested in and connecting them to that. You care enough to get to know someone, their family, their interests, their family's interests, you are more likely going to be able to know how to get them more involved in the church and parish ministries. When people feel like others care about them, they're more likely to get involved and stay involved. Connecting to many different people will provide more perspective on whether you have the right ministries for the needs of your parishioners, identify gaps in the needs of your parishioners, and identify common threads among people that allows you to connect them to each other. And that goes to our next element. But this is an important point. It's the idea of as you get to know people, as you get to know their interests, and you find out, does your parish have the ministries set up to answer the needs of the people? You only find out about those things when you actually connect to people and ask them and find out what their needs are, their family's needs. So it's really an important element of this, which is reaching out and connecting to people. So practically speaking, how do we connect to people? Well, the best way to do it is to reach out in a personal way. Some people prefer in-person connection. Others might prefer texts or phone calls, but face-to-face is often the best way to connect. It may not work best for everybody, so be flexible, but it largely is. You could read someone, you can feel connected to that in a face-to-face interaction versus a text or a phone call, or even worse, a letter or an email. Sometimes those work too, but ultimately the best way is a personal way, like a personal reach out. The personal touch is the best way to show you care about the person versus a group communication. Imagine when somebody reaches out to you and asks how you're doing versus you get a group email or a group letter that just says, "Dear parishioner." It's a very different feeling. So make those connections. So part of the practical tip here is, what can we do as stewardship, liaisons or committees or people responsible for stewardship in our parishes? What can we do to help foster this? And those are some of the things that you can brainstorm about. Use testimonials, share personal stories about how church or its ministries has affected you or your family. Ask open-ended questions, not yes or no. You'll learn more. I'm a lawyer by training, so this is typical of what I do for a living. Yes or no questions are usually used when you want to direct someone to an answer. But when you're trying to learn about someone or trying to understand who they are, what their interests are, ask open-ended questions. What do you like about our parish? What is missing from our parish? What services do you like attending? What interests does your son or daughter have? Things like that will get answers that hopefully will allow you to connect them to areas of interest for them. So invite people to participate in Jesus Christ Church and Parish Ministries. This is an important piece to think about. What are we doing when we're connecting to people? We're inviting them to be part of Christ's church. And if we think about it that way, hopefully it breaks down some of the barriers that we might personally have of being, wanting to approach either new people or ask questions or try to connect with them. As with everything related to stewardship, gain commitment from your parish priest and parish leadership to establish a culture of engagement. If you don't if you don't do that, then ultimately, if this doesn't become something that all of the parish leadership does, then it's certainly good for you to do it, but it's best when leadership understands that we're trying to invite people to church. We're trying to invite people into our ministries. We're trying to connect with people. That's huge. Be proactive. Some parishioners volunteer without hesitation and easily become involved in the life and ministries of the parish. Others may be reticent. They might be shy. They might not realize their time or talents are needed or desired. So don't wait for them to come to you. Go to them. Ask them, invite them, ask them what they're interested in doing. Ask them if they can help. What are areas that they would be interested in either helping or being part of? Reach out to people and invite them to church service, ministries of the church, to help at an activity or philanthropic event or service project. In a couple of parishes that I've attended in the past, sometimes our stewardship committees just reach out to people that haven't been to church in a while. They don't ask about whether they want to pledge. They just say, hey, can you come to church? Would you like to come to a service? We haven't seen you in a while. There's a new ministry. Why don't you check that out? That proactive reach out works well. It shows you care, and it ultimately could lead to those folks coming back to church. And people do respond better to personal invitations than to the generic ones. And then try again. Keep that in mind. The first time may not work. You don't have to try every day, but certainly, our mission here is good. So try again and try to get people involved. Don't worry if the first time doesn't work. And I think we touched on this. Be curious, ask questions, and get to know people to find out their interests. You'll learn a lot from asking questions. And then invitations come from many sources. So our priest and parish council invitations carry a great deal of weight, but they should not be the only ones extending invitations. Stewardship committees can extend invites to people to engage in a variety of ministries of the parish. So invite people who haven't been to church in a while to attend a service. Invite a young person to a Goya event or attend a Sunday school class. Invite a young adult to volunteer in a food drive or other service activity. Invite a new face in church to coffee hour and introduce him or her to others. These are just examples, but if you proactively set up a culture of reaching out to people, inviting them, that is a very strong way to connect to people. And they can be, of course, written or verbal. Parish bulletins, newsletters, emails, letters, they all can contain invitations, but personal calls, visits, face-to-face, in-person conversations are probably more effective. So we wanted to include a slide about ways to connect to new people and visitors. This is probably worth highlighting. When you see new people or visitors, ask for their contact information, and importantly, follow up with a personal phone call or invitation to return to church or attend a ministry. There's really nothing worse than someone, giving you their contact information, feeling like they're new and they're trying to establish a contact and then never hearing from the church. That's a terrible feeling. So the follow-up is key. And then, you could use welcome greeters at the entrance of the church to welcome new people, request contact information, seek it out, be proactive. Use a sign-in book and follow up with a personal contact. Again, if you have a sign-in book and you don't actually follow up, why even have the sign-in? Use thank you for joining us card in the pews or something like that, where they can fill out information and then follow up. That's the message. Follow up with a personal contact. And find ways to recognize visitors, new people. Often in bigger parishes, you might not know who's the visitor. So maybe the priest can have a system of asking who's new, they can stand, or maybe there's a spot at the cafe hour that is for new sign in for new visitors. That's the idea. Try to find a way to make people that might otherwise be visitors and might be not known that they're visitors welcome and feel a way to connect. So that's connecting to people. Now that shifts to, now we're going to shift to connecting people to people. So first one is connecting to people. Now connect people to other people in a meaningful way to increase connections, and a result, then they are engaged. If you connect people to people such that then they can continue to connect and participate, whether it's in a ministry or in church or however you're connecting them, there's a higher level of engagement that's going to result. They're likely to come back. They're likely, at that point to feel like they're part of something bigger. And that's what we're going for. So introduce people with similar interests, similar age children, similar marital status, similar talents. Connect people with interest in ministry to ministry leads or other people that actively participate in the ministry, and then invite them to attend a ministry or meeting or event. So if we connect people to who might be in, like, you know, to an example, someone might have a kid in Goya age, and, you know, introduce them to the youth director, introduce them to families with other Goya age kids. This starts to get them more likely to become engaged and involved in the ministry and ultimately the church. Ministry participation is a great way to connect people to people. That is most of our parishes have some form of ministries, and that is a great way to do that connection. And people are likely to participate when they know other people and feel welcome. So, you know, you can maintain a variety of ministries and programs that engage parishioners in various stages of life and with a variety of interests. Now, depending on the size of your parish, some of you might have very large parishes and have an abundant amount of ministries. Some of your parishes might be small and you might not have, you know, the ability to have as many ministries. But think about variety, think about the parishioners you have, think about the parishioners you're trying to draw in or bring back, and do your ministries align with those needs. I think those are the conversations you can have as you connect with people. And solicit and welcome ideas for new ministries and encourage participation of non or not yet Orthodox Christians. Let's not forget that. That's an important point. You know, we want to make sure that, you know, if someone is new to the church, investigating the church, that they feel welcome in our ministries too, and that we're connecting people to people that will also welcome and help those folks feel welcome. So here are some examples of spiritual and educational ministries. I'm not going to go through them all on the slide. You can see them. It's more of an eye slide. But if you look at these again, some of your parishes may be bigger and able to do more of these. Others may be smaller and not able to do all of these. But to the extent there are ideas on these slides to think through as possible areas for ministries, whether you have them, build them up, or want to create new ones. Here's some ideas. And here's PHILOPTOCHOS and other examples of ministries, committees, programs that many parishes have or considered or we have heard of along the way. And these are all ways to connect people to people, good ways to connect people to people, and many times do good things for other people, which ultimately leads us to our last point. But before we get to connecting people to purpose, I wanted to take a special moment, talk about small group gatherings. This is a really effective way of connecting people to people and getting people engaged. I know of at least one parish that does this very successfully. I think it's the Minneapolis parish, if I've heard correctly, where they've literally set up small group gatherings, usually by zip code, so that people can be close to each other, where they basically bring people together. And there's all sorts of ways you can do that with purpose. So Bible studies, book clubs, movie clubs, dinner clubs, they could be just social, they could be discussions, they could be, you know, particular interests or men's group, women's group. But at the end of the day, the purpose of this is connecting people to people and getting them to get to know each other, getting them to get more engaged with something related to the church or a ministry of the church. And ultimately, it's a very powerful way to get people more engaged. Takes some arranging, but it is ultimately very effective to do. And then a moment on connecting new people again. So these are, you know, once you connect to the new person, how can you help connect them to other people in the parish? You know, we have to connect new people to the parish, and this is the follow-up point again. But it's also going to increase the probability that they will then become engaged in the parish. So greeters should connect new people to other people in the parish, those with similar interests, those that are in ministries in which the new people express interest, and in the parish priest and parish leadership. Don't forget that. That's an important connection to make. Schedule periodic welcome gatherings, invite new people, visitors in the last 6 months to meet each other. That's one common thing new people have. they might be new to the parish together, and that might bring them together. You could establish a buddy or a mentor system where a family or individual is connected to the new people for purposes of answering questions, personal follow-up, and introductions to other people and ministries of interest, small group gatherings, fellowship. It's a good way to connect someone new to someone who's established in the parish who can introduce them to areas and people that might be of interest to them. And it's a great way to do that follow-up. There's a face to a name, so to speak. All right, last but not least, because I'm running out of time, is connecting people to purpose. So we've connected people, we've connected to people, we've connected people to people, and now we want to connect people to purpose. So connecting people to purpose is the most effective way to complete the cycle of connection. Purpose is another way of saying, is basically another way of saying inspiring them, connecting people to purpose to inspire them. And when people are inspired, they're more likely to get engaged. Another way of describing this connecting people to why we exist as a parish, connecting people to Jesus Christ. And that is the central part of what we're doing as a church, is we're trying to bring people closer to Christ. And if we remember that and think about that, that is going to be a very powerful inspiration for getting people engaged. If we're successful in helping connect people to faith, we will have abundant engagement. Connecting people to Christ is connecting them to love, service, and humility. And this is the most powerful way to keep people coming back again and again. So our faith is a powerful purpose for connecting people. Use it. Use it. Invite and involve people in divine liturgy and other spiritual services. Church tours with explanations about services and iconography can help people understand services better. Include translations or explanations about services in pews, or communicate an online accessible source. Today, a lot of our services are available on apps and internet sites and right on people's phones, and they can follow along and understand things better than maybe if they don't have that. Establish parish philanthropy efforts and invite people to participate. People love to do things that are service oriented. If you invite people to connect with people and invite people to the services part of your parish, clothes drives, food drives, soup kitchen, women's shelter, nursing home, any of these types of events, they're more likely to become in and stay engaged. Connect with the community and find opportunities to partner to help the local community. Building projects, landscaping projects, cleaning projects. These are all things that will get people motivated and engaged to help. Provide other volunteer opportunities for people. Pick up senior citizens to bring them to church. Help deliver groceries to those that are ill. Visit people at the hospital. These are all, again, ways to get people connecting to purpose, the why we are as a church. We're connecting people to Christ both through service and through the divine liturgy, as well as service to others. And outreach and evangelism. Invite non-Orthodox Christians to church and to participate in ministries. So when we talk about creating a culture of engagement, we're talking about connecting people to connecting people to purpose. But as we've talked about in the other months, the principles of trust building apply here. Confidentiality, transparency, showing appreciation, acknowledging, and celebrate. These are the fundamental trust building principles that cross all of our key elements of stewardship. So now, as we think about where we're about to go into breakout sessions, think about what we're asking each parish to think through, which is creating a goal or an action plan for engagement. So think about connecting people to purpose. Where are you as a parish on these three in the elements, and what goal can you put into place to try to make meaningful progress? So pick at least one of the above buckets that you believe your parish could use help. Write a goal or action that is specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound that would advance your parish stewardship in one of these areas, and bring it back to your priest and parish council for endorsement and adoption for your parish. So again, examples of goals. These are just made up examples. You come up with your own goal for your parish, but something like this would be measurable and actionable and time-bound. Our parish will add 3 new ministries that target increased participation from the following groups: youth, senior citizens, and single persons. Each ministry will be created after a survey to the parish that identifies areas of greatest interest. Survey to be conducted by August and ministries to be created by October. That's a good goal. Our parish will increase the participation of new members in the insert a ministry name by 10%, increase number of people at meetings by December 2023. Our parish will add 2 new service projects in 2023 that help those in need in the local community and send personal invitations to current and past stewards to attend. These are just examples of ways to connect to people, connect people to people, or connect people to purpose. And that's what we think would be a great opportunity for our parishes to do during the breakout session. So with that, let me pause there. And Myra, should we go into the breakout sessions now?
Zoom in.
Here we go.
Rula is going to do it, and she's going to be backed up by Pete.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rula. I am at St. George, Chicago. We had a great discussion in our group. And we all know that the first 5 minutes of meeting anyone is the most important. So we focused on the engagement and how to make someone feel welcomed within the first 5 minutes. One of the things that we came up with is that we greet them right at the door. And some even said, even in the parking lot, there has to be something welcoming when you're walking in the door from the parking lot. A hello, welcome to your parish. We have a team at St. George that works with the narthex committee, and we have people stationed. So we don't want to miss any kind of exits or entrances. We have somebody at those entrances. And then also it's very important to make sure that everyone is acknowledged and getting them to fellowship. So how do you do that? After a didaron, one of the ways that we are talking about at St. George is to, again, work with the narthex committee and have somebody, 1 or 2 people from the stewardship committee behind the priest. And if somebody is new, the priest we tap Father Chris, or if Father Chris notices that the person is new, we walk them to fellowship. We walk them and we don't just drop them off. We're almost like their ambassador for the day to make sure that they feel that connection with St. George and anyone in fellowship or people at our church. How do you collect information? We talked about that. Some churches have visitors cards, and that is where we stopped with the collecting the information, visitor cards or something similar to that. So that was just a light conversation. Pete, help me out. Did I forget anything?
No, you did a great job, Rula. I think the only other thing we talked about is a follow-up once you get information to
Yes.
close the loop, welcome them, encourage them to come back. But we view that the first step is to connect to them, because if you don't connect to them, the other 2 steps really don't matter. So I think you covered everything, Rula.
Thanks, Pete.
Any questions from anyone? Okay, then let's go to PARISH group. And if somebody, whoever it is, that's the representative from PARISH group, if you could make a presentation.
Yeah. So we had a good discussion. We talked about connecting to people as well as connecting to purpose. So we had a pretty dynamic discussion. As far as connecting to people, we didn't talk as much about connecting as reconnecting and making sure that we're, reaching out to folks that have maybe fallen off of regularly attending, talking about ways to bring them back into the fold, whether that's just through conversations, through ministry, and then to follow up to Rula's comments, the theme of the follow-up and making sure that it's not just an initial conversation or one conversation, but there's a little bit more meat to the conversation to bring them in and make sure that they feel acknowledged and heard. And then as far as connecting to purpose, to take it a step further, same thing, bringing them in and making them feel connected to a ministry and following up to make sure that their talents are kind of put to good use and they're tied into the appropriate kind of area of the church so they can feel the most connected and the most valued. So Group, I don't know
Thank
if I missed anything. All right, thank you.
Okay, any questions? Okay, then we'll go to Owen. And
Okay,
if you can introduce.
our group had giant plans, make no small plans. And one day from Holy Trinity in Schiller Park will make the presentation.
Pretty good.
Thank
So we got together. We had an excellent conversation. It was very focused on connections, engagement, and we had like 3 individual goals for each one of the parish. So the very first one is for the 12 Holy Apostles in Minnesota, that they're going to be focusing on reforming the stewardship committee, and also this presentation will be one of the first things that they're going to share with this new committee or new members of the committee, and then also with the priests and the parish council. And this goal is due by June 18th. So a very aggressive deadline, but that's a good thing to do. The second goal is for St. George, St. Paul in Minnesota, and they're going to focus on increasing the monetary funds by engaging parishioners in funding activities and other events by the next fall. They're going to be talking to leadership to connect the people to increase those donations, and the way that this is going to have an impact in stewardship is like any building reforms or anything that they do will increase that commitment and participation from parishioners. As for Holy Trinity, which is the third goal, Holy Trinity in Illinois, we are going to increase the youth participation in activities, especially focus on activities with parents, because one of the things that we have been noticing lately is like every single time that we engage the kids, many of the parents, they take that as an opportunity for them to kind of like disconnect, when we want to do exactly the opposite. We want them to be committed. We want them to be connected and with the kids, with the event, and for them to focus on that event. So that's going to be our focus, and the due date for us is going to be August 31st. And Dean or Patra, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to this.
Nope,
Sorry,
you said
what
everything
you
right,
said was
Wanda. Thank
perfect.
you.
Yep.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Dean, were you saying something?
No, I said everything was great. Thank you, Wanda.
Thank you. Okay, that is really wonderful. Lots of good thinking and good ideas. And Dimitri?
Yeah, right. So in our case, St. Peter, St. Paul, St. Sophia, Elgin, Kimis Racine, and St. Mary's, Minneapolis were part in the discussion. And John Kantrakis from St. Sophia will summarize some of the key points from our discussion. And John, you're muted. Please unmute. You're unmuted, John.
Okay, so yeah, and please, everybody, chime in, so in case I'm sure I'll miss something here. But to start off with, there's a lot of commonality among our various churches. We talked a lot about the importance of having a strong welcoming committee in the narthex to identify new people, and to, as you others also have said, to shepherd them through the whole Sunday, to meet the priest. Our priest actually announces visitors, the sign-in book, and then the follow-up with bringing them to the coffee hour. So we have at least 3 people on the welcoming committee to handle all aspects of engaging, the visitors. And we have people who can recognize somebody who's new to the parish also. One of the churches is doing a ministry fair this coming year, which is great. It's a way for people to see what is going on, what's available in the parish, and to also on a weekly basis at the coffee hour to highlight a particular ministry with a display and write-up of what the ministry does, as well as to have a representative there so people can ask questions or find out about the ministry. We're also working on, and our parish is working on putting together a catalog, a time and talent catalog, so that when people fill out their pledge forms and list what they want to volunteer for, it's important for the ministry heads to know about this and then follow up. Okay, so we're hoping to get that out later this summer and to use it for the fall kickoff of the next stewardship season. Also, we discussed the importance of what can the priest do to enhance engagement. And a couple of things we talked about was for the priest to have a vision for the parish. Where is this parish going 3 to 5 years from now? Okay, and hopefully the people, want to, pursue that vision also. It's also important for the priest to do visitations, and if necessary, to invite lay people who know that person to come to visit in the hospital or to help out. The other thing that our priest does, and at several other parishes also, they actually exhort us to not sit with the same people that we know every Sunday at coffee hour, but to find somebody new and meet them. Okay, so that's those are all good things that the priest can do. We also talked about at the end briefly about how we're moving more towards English in liturgy, again, to be able to for more people who don't know the Greek language to be able to feel part of the parish. And that's becoming more and more important, is to focus on the English and to focus more on our faith. One of the challenges that we talked about was how do we witness our faith to people? Okay, what's the right way for each of us to do it? And it'll be different for each person. But we all have to think about how can we do that better. Okay. So, any other thoughts? Anything I missed? I'm sure there is some things. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like, John. I think you covered everything. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Any questions on any of the items that we discussed tonight that Perry went through? Or any comments or suggestions? The one thing that we have been working on at St. George, and it's been for a while, is to have an electronic welcome card, both with a QR code at the pews as well as at the tables in the coffee hour, and then follow up. That hasn't happened yet. The draft is prepared. It just has to be completed and implemented. So there's lots of great ideas for ways to welcome people. Our imagination is the only thing that is, preventing us from just exploring and doing everything that is possible. So for next time, which will be, by the way, on September 5th, in July, the first Tuesday of the month is July 4th. We didn't think we'd want to schedule a meeting for July 4th. And then in August, a lot of people are on vacation and are gone. And we usually do not have meetings in August. So the next one will be on Tuesday, September 5th, which means it'll give you a great opportunity and a lot of time to work on your goals, identify your goals, make them measurable, and then report back. We look forward to you reporting back in September, because the topic at that time will be reporting back and discussing and talking about progress that we've made along the line of engagement, considering the 3 buckets that were discussed tonight. Any questions or comments? And we're only 6 minutes over. So with that, thank you all very much and have a wonderful, wonderful summer.
Maybe
Thank you.
Enjoy summer.
Thank you,
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well.